The third and final season of the Spanish crime thriller Sky Rojo has dropped on Netflix. Now, it's been a wild ride of sorts with the characters, but does this conclusion wrap things up in a satisfying way, or does it all end in a mess? Coral, Wendy, and Gina discover that peace is nothing more than that deceptive feeling between periods of terror. When their new life is blown to pieces, the girls understand that the past always returns, and if they ever really want to be free, they'll have to bury it, or bury Romeo. Now, I enjoyed the first season, and I really thought it should have been just a limited series. And season 2, it was alright, but it wasn't awesome. So when this third season was announced that it was going to be the finale, I was hesitantly looking forward to it. And like I said in the synopsis, the three women have been on the run, and they've finally found a place that feels like it could give them some solitude from Romeo and Moises. But I mean, come on. That'd be a very boring series if that happened. So of course, all the crap is going to hit the fan and lead to all sorts of action and drama. Now, the first episode is sort of a weird one, where so much of it is character movements with a voiceover almost catching us up from the last season. Now, I do kind of like that because I didn't totally remember all that went down in season 2. I remembered parts, but this first episode helps to not only refresh what went on, but it also sets the stage for the final run. Now, a lot of this feels like rinse and repeat, where the girls escape from Romeo, then try to get some sort of revenge. That goes wonky, then they fight, escape, attack, and then again deal with sideways ramifications. Now, while I don't mind this a ton, the whole premise of the show does begin to get a bit tiresome since the arcs, they're basically the same each time, just with some small variances and complications. Now, I do like the character growth that we watch in this finale. Several of the characters begin to make real changes, and most of the time, that shift, it's not easy. But a couple of times, the growth, it does feel a tiny bit abrupt. But as I had thought about this more, this also feels kind of natural given the circumstances with the characters. If they've been doing something a certain way and then are faced with traumatic consequences, an abrupt shift in behavior could be the natural course. And my point is that while some of the growth that we witness has been a slow change over the seasons, there are one or two that happen just in a few episodes. But instead of feeling like the story cheated, I can understand the point of view and then be okay with how it comes about. Now, we know this has been a very violent series, not only with guns and beatings, but through emotional abuse, sexual assaults, and all sorts of torture. So, for as immune as I thought I was to this, there are a few surprises this season for characters, and then I wasn't expecting it or even being ready for it. I think it fits within the story, but then, you know what, I wasn't happy about what goes on. And then looking at violence from another angle, there's a new character who is introduced, and the dude is vile and ruthless. He performs one kill in a very unique way. I mean, it's sadistic, and while we don't get to actually see the gore, we can certainly imagine what's going on, and it's pretty horrific. Now, I was impressed at the creativity that was shown. Disturbed, but impressed too. I think what has really made this series for me is the three lead actresses. They have a good dynamic that works. And a lot of the time it's dysfunctional and unhealthy, but there are also times of true support. And the way they feed off each other makes for some really fun interactions, especially when the crap hits the fan and they start to go ham on whoever their opponent is. But there also have to be the baddies. And while I think both Moises and Romeo are semi-caricatures of real villains, their over-the-top explosive emotional outbursts, they just push the drama into the absurd at times, leading to crazy and exciting sequences that are typically very violent and full of action. A lot of what goes on also relies on us suspending our disbelief because, realistically, most of the characters should have died a long time ago from some of the trauma they've endured. But we need them to rise from the ashes and continue the fight, which then leads to some fairly epic showdowns. Now, the pacing for this season is a little weird. Halfway through, it feels like we're reaching the conclusion because there is a massive story climax. And I then was worried that the last 4 episodes are going to be drawn out or maybe just become filler. Now, luckily, the story did have more to tell. And there are still some that were filler there, but it wasn't excessive. And then the episodes, they're all fairly short, falling around 35 minutes each, so that binge, it's pretty quick. When the 8 episodes are concluded, the story feels wrapped up and resolved. I mean, it is kind of a cheesy end, with the whole final setup being fairly ridiculous when compared to reality, but the show hasn't relied wholly on what would actually be plausible every single time. So the consistency, it's nice, and really, I mean, it's just sort of fitting for the final sequence. And I think if you've made the trek so far with this show, the ending isn't going to be something you bat an eye at, but instead, you'll walk away satisfied. If you've not even started this series, this is one that's not going to get canceled because it's made its full run. So you can watch a complete story arc from beginning to end without the fear of all of a sudden the narrative just not being completed. So overall, Season 3 of Sky Rojo continues to deliver the crazy action that has been a staple the entire time. The character growth is engaging, with the character arcs feeling earned and deserved. The setups and situations are sometimes ridiculous and far fetched, but they're enjoyable and filmed well. There's great charisma and dynamics amongst the characters, making them appealing whether they're heroes or villains. And because the episodes are rather short, there's not massive time investment should you choose to get your binge on. There's sex, nudity, a ton of profanity, and a whole lot of bloody violence. I give season 3 of Sky Rojo 3.5 out of 5 couches. So, who's your favorite character in the show? I really like both Wendy and Moises, but let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me. And fun fact, this is the second time I had to do this review because I accidentally forgot to hit record on my camera.